is deugdzame gretigheid.
Oh, dat klinkt goed.
Hey,
That's so difficult, not very close. So before I look,
Laszlo?
Yeah.
Did you miss a little rubber liberation on site mantra?
Read that from your arm? No, it's not. It was
In the bathroom, yeah.
Yeah, it was there yesterday evening as well. So it was not me.
So it's,
I don't know, who's that? It was not from Is it a liberation book?
I think so. I haven't looked at it. Usually it's Gachanuchi used to get these out.
Okay.
With Om Hanupachi Barahe Soha mantra, which is supposed when you see it, it purifies 10,000 lifetimes.
So not really.
No.
5 WhatsApp.
Ja. Maar het is wel, het helpt wel. Ja.
That's the red. Red eye.
Oh, you know it.
I don't know. Big thing.
It's supposed to be this. Regardless.
Lama's in the house.
Tassie. English Tassie.
Lama's in the house. Lama has arrived.
Dan andere keer wat koffie.
Ja.
Ja, dat is wel fijn.
Dat vergeet niet. Ik wel van hoort van talk zetten. Ja, best wel.
Ik kun je gewoon zeggen, lama, dan moet je zo'n hele dikke heel.
Vinger te dikke, ja. Creëert boeddhisme.
Ja, sacreert nou, ja. Oh, weet je wat ik nog mis? Een lepeltje. Voor de zekerheid wat suiker.
Lepeltje.
Suiker neemt ze soms ook wel.
Dames and heren, ladies and gentlemen, quick reminder. After the teachings there is still some food left, so please stay and eat again. And there will be a puja at 8. good repertoire for those interested. And the shop is still open after the teachings. For those who have to donate for the food or whatever, it is possible.
Okay.
Enjoy your
Thank
teaching.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We kunnen we klappen. Van Las, een soort van, ja, eigenlijk officieel van Las, ja.
And make yourselves comfortable, please.
So, and then, would you like coffee now or rather later?
Oh, now is good. Shuko kundo song mogo moi dorji sampagarab dorji dang shere singe bardu shin labdi de ramavzan tata tusum chi zog chen jupe lama la sol wa deb again pema junela sol wa deb Dorji chang chitila naro dang marpa mila gompo tsatsa pa na pupadang pal den drupa suk kagyu lama namla solwa deb chagchen lama namla solwa deb O chen lama namla solwa deb Jo chen lama namla solwa deb Shak chen lama namla solwa deb Ayon drundang yendu lama namla solwa deb Palkondu zhongdang yerme pa Gungarab dorji jin trag pa Jetidang nisume pai Palamanam chitente chong. So how was your practice over lunch? How did it go stripping it naked?
I had the experience that the emotion is a little bit like an animal. When you look at it, it goes away, and if you walk from it, it jumps on your neck.
Yeah.
So then I had to, and it's also difficult for me that when I'm quite fine, then it's not so easy for me to bring up a very strong emotion.
You can't tell yourself a story about all the mean things that were done to you?
Yes, but then okay, it's a story, and then there is a residue of an emotion in that story. But if you get angry now with me, then it's very strong. No, in the real life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You goddamn bastard. Did it work? Just for a moment.
He's not a bastard.
You know his parents. Sometimes I had a teacher named Lama Lena. I only had him as my teacher briefly because my own teacher told me to come back that he was going to get me killed. That Lama Lena was going to get me killed because, in fact, his track record, the survival rate among his students was not very high. Those that survived usually did very well with their practice. Those that survived. And he used to like to experience his emotions in the round for this practice. So he would go out and pick a fight in a biker bar or a Punjabi truck stop and then have lots of feelings and work with them. Or he'd go tease the police. He found many ways. We would go out almost every week without fail on a Sunday afternoon, looking for intensity. He usually found some. It was very interesting. You may need to do that. So I suggest that you do it using common sense. Take yourself to an amusement park and find the ride that you are afraid of. And try it there because that is actually safe. You're Dutch, you have common sense. It's into the culture. So take yourself to a place where you can experience fear.
An airport.
Yeah. There will be a place for you that is not actually dangerous, but where you will experience fear. There is a place for you which is not actually dangerous, but where you will experience anger. There will be a place for you where you will experience jealousy and competitiveness. Look, if you care about how other people think of you, that is part of that category of emotions. So you can go somewhere dressed embarrassingly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, there now. You can possibly, some people enjoy embarrassment. That's how pro-doms make a living. People can enjoy anything. But take yourself to places that are safe. You know, I don't recommend you use Lama Topjel's method. He was a hoot. He ended up having as a son one of my teacher's root gurus. Kunu Rinpoche is his son. So this is Kunu Rinpoche who lives over in Missouri. Is his father. If you can get him going, he can tell some funny father stories. But you have to maybe get him drunk to get that out of him. He was not an easy father. But you may need to actually take yourself to places that inspire emotions. Go to the red light district in Amsterdam. I know they have it. Go to one of those places with the movies. Find one to your taste. Feel the lust and the loneliness that goes with it.
Embarrassment.
Oh, that also. That's of the jealousy direction, the competitive, the what do other people think of me, the status, all of that goes into that category. Anyway, go places that you will experience the emotions. And then sit down on a bench somewhere or a stoop, you can find something to sit on, align your channels, and strip the feeling naked and feel it.
Okay, and you can also do that you have an erotic dream and you wake up and then you sit and then you...
Yes, you can do that too.
Okay.
Whatever causes you to feel the strong emotion, which is not actually dangerous. I don't mean drive too fast to get that feeling, okay? Here it may not be as necessary in America, where many people are lacking in common sense because everything has guardrails, and everything is made so safe. So people even think the Dharma is safe. And to a Tibetan, it goes without saying that it's dangerous, especially the Tantras. You can have a serious accident if you don't follow instructions properly. So in America, we really have to say, use common sense, use common sense. Maybe here in Holland, it's not as necessary. You all should be able to inspire the what do other people think of me pretty easily, because in your culture, there's very much community sense. And how do the neighbors feel about you? And how do they see your house and your stuff?
The most Dutch expression of identity is doe maar gewoon, dan doe je al gek genoeg. Act normally, then you act crazy enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is might as well be on the coat of arms of the Netherlands. It's not, it might as well.
So if you cannot bring up an emotion, some of you can, some of you can't. If you can bring it up just sitting on your to a nice restaurant. Experience loneliness while you see all about you people who are not being lonely. You can do this. You'll find your way. If you can do it just sitting by thinking about, by bringing up a story, that's just easier for those for whom that works. Some of you can really go into your imagination and it's very powerful. You probably can do that as a poet. Whereas others of you can't do that and need to go out and find a place to do this. If you like very much sweet things, go sit in a bakery and don't have one. Desire. Yeah, for some of us that will work. And then work with the feeling. Depression, you will have an opportunity, because in our culture it happens to almost everybody from time to time. And I wanted to talk to you about working with that one, which is considered the central direction. It is a kind of fatigue, emotional rather than physical, where nothing seems worthwhile. But then you hate yourself because you can't get anything done. Does this sound familiar to anyone? This sort of sludgy depression that comes upon one at times. Next time you get that opportunity, try not fighting it, not minding it. So one morning, for whatever reason, you wake up and you just don't want to get out of bed. And you make yourself get out of bed and you're not even hungry, you don't want breakfast. The coffee doesn't taste good. Nothing's fun. There's nothing you want to do today. But you really should fold the last load of laundry. And maybe stuff the dishwasher or wash the dishes. There's things you need to do. I mean, even a shower, you really should have one. You probably smell a bit, but yeah. Try not fighting that. Not trying to push through it. accepting it. And okay, today's going to be one of those days, is it? I will just accept this. And I won't get anything done. And I won't be of any use to myself or others, and that's just fine. And you're going to have stories probably about what you should be doing and how you shouldn't be feeling this way, with a little fear that it might get stuck and last forever. Strip it naked of the stories and completely relax into the exhaustion, the fatigue, the futility. Don't fight it. If you do this, if you don't fight it like that, after a little while of not fighting and not trying to make it go away and not trying to make things better, it opens up into pure spaciousness. You got to try it to find this. So next time that arises for you, give that a try. Because pretty much everybody gets an opportunity. Everybody gets those days. You know, they may not happen really often for some people, or at other times in our lives they happen kind of often. Or, you know, a really close friend tells you they don't want to see you again, that they hate you. And that knocks you into one of those, oh, I'm so terrible, I'm no good, I can't do anything right, which knocks you into, I think I'll just sit here. We have a children's song in America. Nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I think I'll eat some worms. Fat ones, skinny ones, big ones, little ones, I think I'll eat some worms. That's a song that the children sing sometimes. Or that we sing at them to tease them when they're all, When you don't fight the emotion and try to fix it, whatever the emotion is, it opens up into the innate and natural wisdoms. The symbolism is the peacock feather, which we always have in our bumpa. The peacock, it is said, eats poison. It eats the poison it plants on the mountainside, and that's what makes it have those beautiful colors that you don't find elsewhere in nature. The incredible colors of the peacock feather. That iridescence that you only find there. Well, now we have inks and fancy stuff, but in the old days. So that's the symbol of transformation. There are tantric methods, but this isn't a tantric teaching. It's a completion stage teaching, not a path of accumulation teaching. So I'll leave those for another time, how you transform with Tantra or with energy channel work. This is transforming it by leaving it be. Stop trying to fix it. If you feel miserable, all the stories you are making about why you are miserable, how nobody loves you, how you're not good enough, you're not lovable. You know the stories I'm talking about. You'll have your own versions. Okay, so what? Unravel the story by looking directly at the thought, following it home into the infinite open awareness of nature of mind where it's happening, like we did this morning. And then just sit there without fighting it. Each category opens into a category of wisdom, each category of poison, of emotion. So, and this is if we're working with the 5 Dhyani Buddha mandala. You can also work with the 6 realms. it comes out pretty similar. But in the 5 Dhyani Buddha mandala, in the east is the white color. When it is confused, it is fear and anger. When you're twisting it, when it's wrapped up in a story, when you're naming it. When you strip it naked, it is the mirror wisdom. A mirror appears to reflect everything. And yet, if you try to reach into the mirror and grasp something, there is nothing there to grasp. The mirror doesn't only reflect pretty things or ugly things. Mirror don't care. It simply reflects exactly as it is. This is the equanimity which doesn't strive to be other than it is. It is a kind of equanimity which is not caring, not feeling, not having feelings. It's not minding the feelings, not dressing them up in stories and cherishing them, not shoving them away, but leaving them to be the free dance that they are, arising and vanishing in each moment. Interpretation of a sensation of aliveness. When desire arises, how about passing this around and not eating any? When desire arises, wanting, instead of trying to do something about the wanting by putting the thing you want in your mouth, after which it's going to be gone, and then you'll want another. Instead of not liking the feeling of want, so trying to satisfy the want so that you won't feel want, so that you will feel the feeling you think you want, which is satisfaction. Except once you satisfy that want, now you want a bit of coffee to go with it after you eat your chocolate. And then you want a bit of this, and then, oh, it's a bit warm in here, and then... So you're constantly wanting and wanting, and you're never getting to the satisfaction. The image of this wanting, desire, avarice, is the man who there's a chocolate cake on the table, big, fine chocolate cake. There's a slice on your plate. There's a bite in your mouth. There's another bite on your fork waiting for there to be room to move into your mouth as soon as you can swallow that first bite. But your eye is on the chocolate cake on the table, wondering if there's seconds. So you can't experience perfection or satisfaction. Try, not forever, don't tell yourself forever, just in the moment, for the moment. Try feeling want and not minding the sensation. The story of what you want, unravel it. Strip the want to a sensation, a feeling. A story of what you want, why you shouldn't have it, why you can't have it, whether you can have it later, whether you can get another one later, all of that, those are thoughts. They're made of the same thing as all the other thoughts. There are no thoughts that arise that are not made of that no thing whatsoever. So allowing the thoughts to arise and vanish in emptiness as emptiness, having neither substance nor duration, as is completely obvious when you watch them do that, feel the sensation. Don't label it I want. Don't label it I don't want. Don't dress it up in underwear, which is the name of the sensation. Just feel it. Don't try to make it go away. Don't try to not feel it. Don't suppress it. Just leave it be. Can you feel it shifting? In nature, not going away, but shifting from the tight doing, clenching of wanting, of dissatisfaction, to being in utter satisfaction with what is. In this moment, the sensations of this moment, just as they are, without the need to change anything, to acquire anything, to get rid of anything. This is the wish-fulfilling jewel of Ratnasambhava. If you live in this awareness wisdom, there is the utter perfection of contentment. With isness of this moment, not with worry about the next moment, not with worry about what you will get in the next moment, having to improve the next moment, perfecting the next moment, getting this done, acquiring this, getting rid of that, but just the here and now. It is through the liberation of avarice and desire that we reach the awareness of perfection, which is called the wish-fulfilling jewel. This is considered in symbolism to be yellow in color, of the Dhyani Buddha Ratnasambhava, of the power of being able to bring forth whatever is wanted by any sentient being without intent. Yes, there's a city that goes with it, that arises. Don't grab it. That's an oops. I tripped over that once. Oops. That hurt. In the western direction, Lord of Light, Amitabha, brilliance beyond compare, Opame, the light of aliveness, which is of the nature of the interconnectedness of Bodhicitta. Which is the awareness of the multiplicity of the innate singularity and the utter singularity of the natural multiplicity. Loneliness. Wanting someone to understand, someone to touch you. Lust. Desirous love. Please love me. You all know that feeling. And no one can fill it for you. No one, no singular person can fill you with enough love to satisfy the need of a sentient being to be loved. Only you. By finding the natural state of love for all life. Bodhicitta can satisfy that need. So when lust and loneliness arise for you, instead of looking for somebody to fill the hole temporarily, strip it naked of who and what you think you want. Contact, conversation, intimacy, lust, friction, whatever it is you think you want, that's a story. Don't squish the story, don't smush it, don't swat at it. Let the story arise. It is made of thought. See the nature of those thoughts while you are thinking them, not afterwards tell yourself with more thoughts that those thoughts have neither substance nor duration. Perceive directly the nature of the thoughts as they arise in natural mind, disperse in natural mind, right while they're doing it, rather than thinking about the fact that they already did that. Feel the difference? This strips the story and leaves the bright luminosity, the lucidity, the vitality of life, which fills you and all beings in the universe, utterly interconnected, interpenetrating. There is no separation. You, your personality, how'd you get to be who you are? You had experiences, did you not? Interacting with other living beings? With your dog, with your cat, with your lover, with your parents? You are formed of all the experiences you have had. That is how you grow, is it not? How you change? You don't have those experiences singularly alone on an island. You have them interacting with other sentient beings, with the bugs in your gut, with the birds in the sky, with the neighbors, with the lovers, with your children, with your parents. And those experiences change you, and you grow and become who you are. You're not who you were when you were 14. You changed. You are simply the sum total of all your infinite interactions from beginningless time. You're not separate. And you're certainly not alone. When you feel, when you let go of the stories of loneliness and lust, and you actually feel the interpenetrating interconnectedness of all life, which is the real bodhisattva, not the, oh, poor you, I'm going to do something nice for you, of fake compassion, but the real one, where we're all in this together, in life, in beyond life. That utter interconnectedness of bodhisattva is what this lust and loneliness transforms into, when you leave it be as it is rather than trying to fix it. The red color of the light behind the sunset of the western direction. Amitabha Opame. And in the north, the green color of competitiveness and comparativeness. I'm better than you are. Oh dear, everybody here, I'm the fattest person in the room. That's terrible, isn't it? It's also probably true. Do you see how you can do this constantly? Judging yourself by others, judging others by yourself, putting them down, putting them up, putting one on a pedestal and one on the bottom. This is better than that. No, that's better than this. All the stories. Let go. Don't shove them away. They'll just come right back at you from the other direction. Look through them. Look at what they are. Watch them as they arise in mind and dissolve in mind, being nothing other than the infinite open awareness of mind, the very liveliness of that, the liveliness of the clear light nature of the open awareness, and let them dance freely without grasping or rejecting, without making anything out of them. And a sheer inherent competence is left. The ability to do without being distracted by what if, woulda, coulda, shoulda, mighta. So simply doing what you are doing in the moment, and the doing as it arises is done, without any self-sabotage whatsoever. This is a Mogosiddhi, the all-accomplishing wisdom, and the innate and natural spaciousness in which all of these wisdoms dance, the openness of open awareness, the lack of boundary. This is the flip side of that sludgy depression that comes upon us when we feel utterly incapable, insufficient, desirous and itchy, lonely, frightened, annoyed with ourselves. When we feel them all at once together in the conflict of that, we hit that, oh, fuck. Relax, let it go. Let it be as it is. Let it open up naturally. Don't try to make it do that. Don't do this to change the emotion. Don't do this practice to get rid of the feeling of depression. You actually have to be okay feeling this and that for this practice to work. Questions? Like everything I teach, as I go about here and there giving different teachings, each one is appropriate to some of the people there at this time, and to others of the people there sometime later, and to a few of the people there, not their cup of tea. Buffet. So the thing to do when you get a teaching is to taste it and see if you like it. I happen to be very fond of sour herring, but I don't like the salty one, which I discovered tasting the salty one last night. Now, the scales are still in there too much, and in the sour one, they're all seem to be gone. But I wouldn't know that if I hadn't tasted them. Now I will eat sour herring, or I will eat something else. So you try the practice when you first get it. Yes?
Sometimes I don't really trust my feelings, or I doubt. I have a lot of doubt. Could you say something about that?
Those are thoughts. Be more specific and I'll say something more specific.
Like, this practice is about letting the feelings appear and stripping them.
Mm-hmm. Are you afraid of them?
Sometimes I just, it's not that I want to get rid of the feelings, but sometimes I have feelings and I'm not sure, and they point me in some direction, but I don't know if I should follow it.
Yeah, you're trying to decide whether to act on a feeling or not.
Yes.
In this practice, we do not act on the feeling.
Yeah.
We do not act on purpose.
No.
We allow actions to arise naturally when they do, but we don't choose them or debate about them by thinking at them. In this practice, completely different in other practices. So, if you choose to do this practice, When we act on a feeling, it's usually to make it go away. I see a sweet with whipped cream on top and it looks really wonderful and I want it. I'm not okay with just wanting it, so I have to decide, shall I eat it or not? It's not enough for me. I have want, but then I also think how many calories it must be, and will it make me fat, and will it disturb my digestion? And I mean, I can think about whether or not to eat the cream cake for an hour, trying to decide. But that's not this method. That method makes me crazy. You know, you stare and stand at a cream cake for an hour. Should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I, should I? I'm picking really simple things. There are many more complex things in the life, but I pick for examples the simpler ones that really no damage one way or the other. Whether you should tell your feelings to your partner today when they just had a bitch of a day at work. That may have more long-term repercussions than eating a cream cake. So we're looking on the cream cake. Instead of doing all of that crap, how about I just be okay with the sensation I'm having? The whole story about should I, shouldn't I, that's thoughts. I'd strip it, see what it's made of, let it dissolve. And I'm left with, here's me, and here's a cream cake. Will an interaction occur? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't have to decide or go through a whole trip because I don't mind wanting it. I don't need to eat it to make the want go away. I don't mind feeling want. It's a sensation. But I don't need to not eat it because of some story about it'll make me fat and then, of course, people won't like me and you know all the stuff that we get around being fat or being ugly or smelling bad. Us people. So, do you see what I'm talking about? You don't have to decide, do it or not. Just accept the feeling and see what happens.
So actually you, like with the tanka, when you look at it, your attention goes to it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this is sort of the same. Instead of putting your attention into the cupcake with the cream on it,
Mm-hmm.
you direct your attention towards the feeling and then towards the sensation. Because normally we would reach out to the object itself.
We would make the object real to ourselves by talking to ourselves about it. Your first step is to strip it naked. Get the story off it. But you don't actually do that as a doing, you do that as a looking through. Then what you're left with is a feeling with a name. It's still got its underwear on. This is an analogy. So let go the name. See that the name is just another thought. See that watch it arise, watch it vanish. What you're left with now is a sensation. Instead of grasping that sensation, this is a good sensation, I will keep it. Or shoving that sensation, this is a bad sensation, I will make it go away. Leave it alone. When you're not poking at it, it can open, which is transformative but doesn't make it go away. If you have an expectation of transforming the feeling into something else that you will like better, it won't work. It won't open up. You really have to accept the sensation just as it is. Does this answer your question? Did I understand your question clearly? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was not really a question, so you gave a beautiful answer.
Okay. Other questions? Yes.
I did this practice, and there was no longer me having the sensation, so it was fully open.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have intense. It's like blowing me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the stories are just a little
Yes.
repressing the.
For many of us, we use the story to keep from feeling the full intensity of the feeling. Especially if we have something like a deep-seated loneliness or a grief that's so deep we've never been able to deal with it, or that kind of all-pervading anxiety that almost gets diagnosed if you told somebody about it. Yeah, you all know what I mean there. Or a simmering rage that never goes away. One of those often is totally wrapped around with stories to protect you from it. And yeah, it gets really big. To be a yogi requires a certain amount of courage to face shit.
Yeah, because if I do this, then another fear comes up to
Mm-hmm. Another feeling do the same thing.
yeah, do the same thing, and it's very like surfing.
Yes, it actually is. Keep going. You're doing it right. Just keep going. There isn't an end to the process. There is a dynamic, ongoing stillness, balance to the process. Lama Thupten Yeshe once gifted me with a question about dynamic balance. His question was, he's Gelugpaline, very wonderful, wonderful teacher, my first refuge Lama. He said, so what do you guys think? You think the second moment of enlightenment is going to be the same as the first moment of enlightenment? Or you think it's going to be different? A dynamic stillness, as we say in Mahamudra. Other questions?
Can it be the same with physical pain and tiredness?
Yes.
Pain can do the same.
Yes, but you have to accept it.
Yeah.
My experience with physical pain is that as long as I'm just sitting there and doing that, balancing in that dynamic balance of direct tricture, it doesn't matter. It can be there or not there. But the moment I decide to get up and move around and do things, the pain begins to bother me. So some days I decide, okay, I'm going to sit here. And other days I decide, okay, I'm going to take an ibuprofen. But you can't take them every day. They're bad for you. So some days it's like, okay, so. But that's where I'm at. I speak personally of my own practice. I can't walk around and do things and interact well with people when I'm in a great deal of pain, much above a 5. I find it distracting. Whereas I don't find it bothers me if I'm just sitting. Still working on it. I'm getting older, so I'm sure there'll be more pain to work with. With exhaustion, yes, just that exhaustion that comes either from pain, like if you've got fibromyalgia or one of the tiring old viruses. There's a number of things that leave people exhausted. When you don't mind the sensation of exhaustion, then you can go ahead and do things while exhausted and it doesn't hurt. But you have to not mind that sensation of feeling like water, where your muscles are just like, And this is really hard, but you don't label it hard. You just, so this is a sensation. You can do it.
Yes.
It takes a lot of practice before you can do it. Years.
And but that's a thought. When there is exhaustion and my mind is thinking then I have to lay down. When I don't bother the exhaustion and I go do things, it will get worse.
Those are thoughts. However, you might find yourself quite naturally laying down anyway without those thoughts. Because you're tired.
Yeah.
But there isn't the whole, the spoon theory. That people with chronic illnesses often have a theory of every day you have a certain number of spoons, clean spoons, and when you've used them all up, they're gone. And you might only have 4 spoons, and getting out of bed takes one of them. And then brushing your teeth takes one. So now you have to decide whether to cook food or make a phone call. It's chronic illness theory.
Depression is the same.
Yeah, my partner had a genetic disorder and ran a number of internet discussion groups for people with chronic illnesses. So I'm fairly familiar with some of the theories. And something is going to kill you. Right? Eventually. I mean, it's going to be a truck, a heart attack, a cancer, a microbe, a jealous husband. Something's going to kill you. And it will probably be uncomfortable physically in the process if you are labeling your sensations comfort and uncomfort. So this is worthwhile learning before something kills you, so that it doesn't bother you that much when it does that, because it will bother you a bit. Make sense? We forget, but we're all going to die. However good we've got it, it isn't going to stay that way. Your tits are going to sag. Your teeth are going to fall out, and so will your hair, gentlemen. It's coming. Or you're going to have a car crash. So you just sort of might as well deal with it. Impermanence. Other questions? Yes.
Yes. When I invoke a emotion, and then I strip away the story, then I have the sensation in my belly or in my chest, but it doesn't last very long.
No, it doesn't.
But how to get the wisdom?
Oh, you'll have another feeling. You're alive. This isn't the feeling you were just working with that vanished after a while, the sensation. It'll either come back or you'll get a different one to work with. So don't worry if it goes away. It is the nature of feelings to be temporary. The only thing that gives residue is the chemical component. Or to say that in a Tibetan worldview is the saw pattern. The pattern of your energy channels takes certain shapes chronically. Feelings are simply the chi flowing through the energy channels in certain patterns, as are thoughts, as are perceptions. You have energy channels that come out your eyes that see, out your ears that hear. It all gets interpreted in the nearest chakra. So the energy channels from the eyes come around back here, where a slight interpretation is added, And then they come down here where all the other stuff is going on. Gets added to in this chakra. Or, if you would prefer to think of this in a Western way, when you have a feeling, you release certain neurotransmitters, which are felt by your neural tissue in different places as a sensation. But since your blood is always moving, it washes out those neurotransmitters after a time, and then you don't feel that sensation until you inspire those neurotransmitters again with another feeling. But some of us who live in a state of we're always a bit stressed, that chronic stress leaves chronic neurotransmitters going around, cortisol and adrenaline, so that it's always there a little bit. And those of us that are chronically angry, there's others. Those of us that are chronically happy. Oh, hey, it happens. I know a young monk. All sorts of terrible things have happened to him. This guy is chronically the opposite of depressed. Oh, he gets sad when something bad happens for a little while. Then he bounces right back to his standard level of blissed out happiness. He's always been like that. Monk Sonam. Yeah, it's amazing karma. He had polio as a kid. He's half crippled. He got thrown out of the monastery for being a cripple because he wasn't a perfect human rebirth. They're very old-fashioned in his monastery. And then this happened and that happened. And he's off in a college in Nepal doing wonderfully. He's broke. He doesn't have enough money to pay tuition. He worries about it sometimes, but then he bounces back to his, well, it's going to be okay because I'm getting these wonderful teachings and somehow I'll manage. Our monk Sonam, amazing young man. So we get all sorts of chronic patterns, which are either of chronically released neurotransmitters, like you used up all your serotonin, you don't got any, so oops, you're depressed. Or your body just makes lots of serotonin, so you're happy. And it's a combination of genetic and trauma. You know, something sets off the genetic gate, it opens. That's Western science. In Tibetan science, it has to do with your channel patterns and where they clump and where you have frizzled bits, which is what PTSD looks like in a channel pattern. It looks like it's all matted and dim over there and like the candle burned the hair. Just two different ways of seeing a reality that isn't real. Other questions? I digressed a bit into anatomy because I'm a doctor and I like that subject.
Is it so that if you're chronically happy, then you have more chance to recognize the nature of mind, or is it not?
He's into being a scholar, so not necessarily. He's not into Dzogchen. He's had Dzogchen teachings, but he just loves the Madhyamika at the moment. And he's off studying that in the Shedra and getting all these, what he says, all these cool teachings about this and about that, and he sends me tapes of them, and he's having a wonderful time, even if he doesn't know how he's going to pay his tuition. I think he figures I'll figure something out. You can be chronic any kind of feeling. Some people, due to their karmic patterns, their energy channel patterns, their inherited and traumatically caused neurotransmitter too much, too littles, have a certain feeling that pervades everything. Maybe anxiety, maybe an undercurrent of rage that explodes sometimes, maybe just a basic loneliness, and they're always trying to reach out and touch somebody. And of course, people run from that. Maybe a happiness, like Sonam has. And I've met a few other people that have that one. It's like, wow, that must be nice. Or a constant want where you just, this sense of dissatisfaction with everything. More. Another. These people often end up hoarders. Do you get hoarders in Holland? Ja.
Die mensen die op een gegeven moment overlijden onder de jaren 80 jaargang van de kijk.
Ja.
Verzamelaars, die verzamelen van alles in hun huis.
Like I hear it, what you just said about Sunam is like, as an answer to his question, will you get sooner enlightened if you are? I hear you say, no, not when you practice Madhyamika. Did I understand well?
Madhyamika is a path that he's currently chosen.
Yeah.
It's not the fastest path, but it's a very good path, very steady, very certain. And basic, remember me saying you have to practice the path you like, because you'll do it? Remember the story about Milarepa and the first time he tried Dzogchen? Do you all know that story?
No.
Well, Milarepa was with Marpa, but Marpa's wife took pity on him because Marpa wouldn't give him the Dzogchen teachings. And so his wife, Marpa's wife, felt sorry for Milarepa, who was doing all this work and was just this really good kid. And Marpa wouldn't teach him. And Marpa was known for teaching a stray dog if it would sit still. But he wouldn't teach Milarepa. So Marpa's wife got really kind of upset about this. You're abusing the kid. And forged a letter and sent him off to another teacher to get the Dzogchen teachings. And Milarepa went, and he got them. He received them, but he didn't get them. So every time he tried to sit and look at his mind, he just fell asleep. It didn't work. So finally, the other teacher was like, Marpa's got Moshe. He's a siddha. If he sent you to me, this should have worked by now. And it didn't. So what's wrong? And then it came out that the wife had sent him. And so Marpa yelled at everybody.
So actually one of our problems could be that we are goal-orientated while practicing the Dharma.
Yes. You need to be goal-oriented up to a certain point. And then you let go. Yeah. If you let go too soon, split. Yeah. If you let go too late,
missed the chance.
Yeah. So we are goal-oriented through Keirim, path of accumulation. But you cannot achieve full enlightenment on purpose. It is not possible. You see, what keeps you trapped as a sentient being in samsara is chasing some things and running away from other things. Right? We all know that? So if you're chasing enlightenment and running away from samsara, what's that going to do? Trap you in samsara. Aversion, attraction. So at some point you have to let go. That's why it's called completion stage. If you have not practiced enough stage of accumulation, completion stage won't make sense to you. You won't actually be able to let go and still keep going without the hope of getting somewhere. So you do your Nundro, you do a Rushen. How many of you are pretty much mostly Mahamudra or Mahaati Dzogchen meditators? So for those of you who are trying to somehow let go at the right point, to shift from the doing of your practice to the not doing, where it just does itself, next year, Rushen. Talk to Pippin.
Sasha.
Sasha. They'll have the details and it'll be up on my website.
Rushen you explained last year here.
Mm-hmm. I explained there's many Rushens.
Oh, sorry.
I may have explained one of them here. What was it? Inner body?
No, the picture in the mind, just the same one we did this morning.
Okay, yeah. That is inner mind. What we're doing next year is outer body. We have a place in Poland, I believe, where it's affordable and suitable for that practice.
We're going there next year.
I am going there next year. It is for people who like to practice Dzogchen. It is not a Keirim practice. It is a kind of a Nundro that gets your pants unstuck on the barb on, you know, if you're climbing over a fence and your pants get stuck on a nail. If the nail you're stuck on is between doing and not doing, this practice gets you off that nail. So it is suitable for some of you, and probably not for others. You get to figure that out. And you don't get to know what the practice is until you get there. So if you can't do that, then that's another way of knowing that it's not for you. I'm just letting you know, since some of your questions bring that up, that place, how do you let go of trying to get somewhere and still keep going? Because there's an accident that many yogis have where they get to the point, as in Seksunadeb, where there's no difference between session and not session. So they say, well, I don't have to make sessions. Oops. If you do that too soon, it wears off. And then your teacher will fall off their throne laughing at you. I speak from personal experience. So there is a fine line between keeping going and not trying to get somewhere while you're keeping going. And that's next year's retreat subject. It's 11 days. It's a long one, and no, you can't just do some of it. You're either in or you're out. It is limited to only 30 people. I can't handle more. It needs a lot of personal interaction. So we'll see, first come, first serve. It'll be announced and he'll know about it, and you've got people here who know about it and can tell you about it in Dutch. And other questions on this subject, working with emotions, which is a prerequisite for the inner body Rushen, which I will teach if you like, and if I am here next year, but only if you all practice working with emotions between now and then, because it makes them more intense, and if you don't know how to work with them, you'll have an accident. Do yourself a mischief. End up kicking the dog.
But actually, the practice that you just advised, that you explained, it goes for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, we all have to do this all the time.
Which, working with emotions?
Yeah.
Yes. But some people choose to do it in a Keirim manner. They choose to antidote each specific emotion with an opposite. So when they feel anger, they meditate on patience by thinking and contemplating patience and the cause of patience. When they feel desire, they meditate using thought by contemplating the disgustingness of the human body, or how the food will rot that they're desirous of. So that's a different method of working with emotions, often taught as part of the Lam Rim. Yeah, it's just another way of doing it suitable for different people. You had a question.
Yes. I have a friend, and she's in a kind of depression for years, and I'm always trying to help her.
She should take the medication.
Yes, but something so hard to let it go, not to help her, and that's my thing that I have. Okay, I keep on trying and trying to help, but now I realize it doesn't work.
When you have a depression, whether it is a channel pattern or a set of stuck-on neurotransmitters, if it's been going on for more than 3 to 6 months, you may need pharmaceutical help before you can do the practice. If I teach someone in a chronic clinical depression, not the little come and go ones that we all get from time to time, but a real full-on clinical depression, this practice, they can't do it. They won't do it. They'll hate themselves for not doing it. They'll think about doing it, but they can't just up and do it. So you have to take the meds, then do the practice. Then after a year or so, consider tapering the meds. After you're good at the practice, but you got to take the meds first. This is not instead of the medications, the Prozac or the Wellbutrin, or I don't know, you have different kinds here. Yeah.
I was on it for years.
This is not instead of that. This goes with that. Even great tulkus are known to take antidepressants for a chemical or a channel problem. Okay? Got to emphasize that. This is not instead of the meds, it goes with the meds. It's just like that mantra that protects against contagious diseases like AIDS. It keeps the condom from breaking. It is not to be used instead of the condom. It helps the condom. There was a large accident in America due to a misunderstanding of this. And my teacher was very clear about it when he went about and taught this mantra in the gay community in San Francisco. It goes with the condom, not instead of the condom. This practice of working with emotions goes with the proper meds if you have a chemical issue, not instead of the meds. Did everybody catch that? Common sense, please.
I was wondering, was that your question? You had a feeling that your question was...
Her question was about wanting to help her friend. It just gave me an opportunity to say that really clearly, because it sometimes needs to be said here in the West. Your friend will have to... You could help your friend by remaining their friend even if they're depressing to be around. By loving them anyway. By occasionally having supper with them even if all they do is grouch.
Even that she doesn't want to. She doesn't, if you give her something, she doesn't take it. She thinks she's not worthy for it. So...
Just grab her and hug her sometimes.
Okay.
Whether she takes it or not.
Yeah.
All you can do when someone is in that state is you stay stable. Be something that doesn't come and go for them, that is there. Doesn't mean give up your life for them, but don't stop loving them just because they're in a mess. It's like having a friend who's dying slowly of cancer and has chemo brain and can't think and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or you're still their friend. You don't throw them away because they're not as much fun as they used to be. That's really what you can do. Other questions? Yes?
Yeah. Does it sound familiar that to my emotion or feelings is physical. First, I feel something in my body.
Mm-hmm. You may be, we have 3 in the West, this is said, so this is not Tibetan. But in the West, we have 3 kinds of learners: visual learners, audio learners, and tactile learners. Visual learners, everything's got color. My emotions have color. And the wisdoms have color for me. I'm really visual. Audio learners, things have sound. There's a tone, a tune. It's almost sound for them. There's like a song that is involved in it. And tactile learners, they feel it somewhere in their body. I am not the best teacher to teach you the tactile methods. There's a woman in Napa who specializes in that named Julie, and she's going to be in Germany. And she may have tactile methods of working with this that I don't have. She's going to be in Germany now or soon. Who around here would know? Pepin, O Connector, Edith of Austria knows where to find her. Edith is my host in Austria.
Okay.
So if you want to find Julie and make it over to Germany, to have someone teach you in a tactile way who experiences the world that way. Her teacher is, in Nepal, Mipam Rinpoche? I don't remember exactly. A very fine teacher up in Nepal. Very well thought of. And she is a tactile. So everything is about how it feels in the body. Take, when I say see, think the word feel. And it'll work for you. Fair enough?
Can that also be knowing?
That's a funny word. You better give me how what it means to you, because it's got different meanings in Tibetan and English. And
When I think of the 3 possibilities you said, I don't really resonate with one of them, and I have the feeling that it's just like a knowing, an intuition, like, okay, yes, this is it.
that's sensation with the yi. I have not heard of that in the past. Doesn't mean it couldn't exist. Most people, when they learn things, they learn better from written material, heard material, or from doing the thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference? Or are all 3 equal for you?
I need the reading. I know that.
That's visual.
I don't know. I have to think about that.
And this is Western theory about how one learns. Tibetans assume everyone's visual because their culture is strongly visual. So all the Tibetan teachings are in the words of a visual person. If you're more sound or tactile oriented, you just change the word to see to hear, or to see to feel. Most Homo sapiens are not that nose oriented if we were teaching dogs. For Tibetan, the word awareness is literally seer. Rigpa. You think Rigpa's something fancy? Nah, it's what's looking out from behind your eyes. The seer. Rig is the verb to see, pa is the er suffix. So you think you want to attain this highfalutin thing called Rigpa? You're Rigpa. The seer of what you see. The awareness, the infinite awareness is you. Don't disassociate from it and think there's a you here, which is a personality which sees nature of mind, as if it's out here and you're over here. Yar nature of mind. It's your mind. Yar your mind. The thinker, the seer, the feeler, the perceiver. That when we say open awareness, I could also say big seer. Big, vast, infinite seer. Feel it. The infinitude that looks out from behind your own eyes. The alive, vital infinity that looks out from behind your own eyes. The alive, vital, lively, sparkly infinity that creates all sorts of thoughts and feelings and perceptions as it looks out from behind your own eyes. You are that. Not you see that. You are the seer. Yeah? Don't disassociate from your own enlightenment. That's how you got into this mess in the first place. Other questions? Yes.
If you totally identify with the seer, will you also be able to see the things on your own?
Yes.
Yeah?
Not with your eyeballs. In the dream time. Next time you're dreaming and wake up dreaming, know you're dreaming. See if you can see what's behind your head. When you visualize yourself on a boat in the middle of the ocean, you can imagine 360 degrees. How many degrees in a sphere? No, that's a circle.
That's a circle.
A sphere.
Sphere.
An infinite sphere of infinite diameter. Feel it?
You're seeing it from both sides at the same time.
Yeah. Dream yoga's fun.
Could be a topic.
It was a retreat. It needs to be a retreat. I just did it in France. Other questions? Then perhaps we are complete for today. Do you understand how to do this practice if you choose to do it? That's what's important. I can only tell you how. The doing until it does itself. Without a separation between doer, doing, and thing done is up to you. Oh, yes? Get you last.
Yeah, I just was thinking that we got the practice to get an emotion of something that has made us angry or depressed
Yes.
before. And then you have to practice that a lot, I assume.
Yes.
Before you can also do it in the moment when you get triggered at the moment.
You know, some people do it best in the moment they're triggered because they don't bring them up well. Other people need to practice a lot sitting on their cushion, bringing them up. It's just individual which works better for you. You're welcome to try it both ways. I think one of the easiest emotions to get is fear, just by going in a high place, because humans have an instinctive fear of falling. Do it safely. I don't mean, climb a pole and risk falling off. I mean, go to a place you can look down where there's like glass or where you can look over and feel fear without being in danger. Like in the amusement park, the Ferris wheel, there's all ways. Or go pet a tarantula at the pet store. If you're afraid of spiders, let the tarantula stand on your hand. It's safe. They're really cute. Don't go sucking scorpions. That's a sadhu thing. To get high, the Indian sadhus, you catch a scorpion and suck the venom. It's a weird high. It's amazing what people will do to change their consciousness throughout time in all the different countries. Licking toads, sucking scorpions. Pretty impressive.
When I was 14,
Here
I
we have
smoked
beer.
a banana once.
Oh, I heard about that stuff, yes. Yeah, childhood.
Didn't work.
Teenagers have no sense. Other questions? Yes.
Can this be done in a dream? Because there are a lot of emotions coming up in a dream.
If you can remember to do it in a dream, it's certainly possible. But a lot of times in the dream, we don't even remember who we are or what our practice is. So if you can, someone might be able to. I've never pulled this one off in a dream. I usually prefer to go play with Tantra in a dream because the colors are so bright. Yes?
Can you summarize in very short the practice we've done? You awaken a strong emotion, and then
You strip the story.
you strip the story,
And then you strip the name of the emotion, which is, I'm calling the underwear. You take its clothes off and then you take its underwear off. The clothes are the story that you use, like, oh, this mean person did this to me. He abused me, or this terrible thing might happen, I am afraid. Or my husband is seeing this girl, I am jealous. However you choose, to get one up. That's the story. So you get the story off. Then you take the name off in the same method by which you get the story off. Not a doing, but a looking. So you're not telling yourself the story is wrong, because that's another story. You're watching the words, the thoughts, the ideas that make up the story arise in infinite open awareness and dissolve there. That's the method by which you strip it naked. And you watch its name do the same thing. The name fear, anger, love, desire. What's left now, you find it in your body. Find the place where you feel it as a physical sensation. This is a very common place because you have a sense organ here called the yi. It is considered the sixth sense. And it feels emotions, it perceives emotions. But sometimes you will feel it here, or in the palms of your hands or the soles of your feet, anywhere you could feel it, due to the way your inner energy channels are sitting. Wherever you feel it, find it, notice it. Don't try to make the sensation change. Don't try to make it go away. Accept the sensation without putting another story on it of this is a pleasure or this is a pain. This is a sensation. Accept and sit there feeling it, which releases it. It's no longer held, constricted, tightened by any of the stories that might go around it, such as why I feel it, what it is I feel, its name, and whether I like feeling it or don't like feeling it. Just as if you put your fingers on something, put your fingers on your sweater, you have a texture there. It's neither inherently good or bad. It's just the sensation that your fingertips feel when you touch that object. So in your body is a sensation. It's neither good nor bad. It's just, and just leave it there, sit with it, experience it.
Thank you very much.
Other, yes.
Feelings and emotions are often not only a standalone thing that you have in yourself. Sometimes there is somebody who is triggering it. They are baiting for emotions back, so they have huge emotions. You get big emotions, and then they're judging you on how you reflect their emotions, and so on and so on. And my experience is, as my feeling is, if I say, okay, I'm going now, stripping it naked and
No, don't talk to them that you're doing this.
No, but my reflection will be calm and doing it and looking understandingly and
It might
loving,
be.
and I know the other person will just explode even more.
It might be. It is advised that you do this by yourself until you're very good at it. Rather than working with your partner, your wife, your lover, your best friend. Once you're very, very good at it, you can do it in such a way that a spontaneous reaction that is appropriate can occur. But you can't do that. That is something that happens automatically after it is transformed. Released. Or doesn't happen, and you can't have any investment in it happening or not happening, in their good reaction, bad reaction, which is another story, whether you like that they yelled at you more or you don't like that they yell at you more, and how that fits into who yelled at you yesterday. And this fits in, and that fits in, and all of a sudden you've got a snowball going down the hill, getting bigger, and then you've got an avalanche. So instead, practice this alone. And when you are good and fast at it, when it's like this, then you may try around people, but don't hope for anything out of it. Okay? And sometimes what you will do is yell back appropriately. And sometimes that's not what you'll do. But you can't be invested. This is where crazy wisdom arises spontaneously. You can't do it on purpose. Don't even think of trying. You'll make yourself a mischief. Other questions?
This dream time, is it also during the day, and is it then parallel to
In many ways. However, in the awake time, you are in the pattern of being a Homo sapien with a certain genotype. This is held steady in the awake time. In the dream time, it is not. You are not limited by that. Like in the bardo. So there are some differences. But if you have full recognition of your own nature, there is no difference. Remember the 16th Karmapa's last words? Nothing happens. Birth, death, arising, dissolving. No thing happens. But for the bardo of the day to be the same as the bardo of the night, to be the same as the bardo of becoming, you have to have completed one taste in Mahamudra, Rochik, where the perceiver, the perceived, and the perceiving are not separate. There is no separation. And after one tastes becomes the meditation of non-meditation. Then there is no difference. But for us now, yeah, there's a difference. We are held to certain patterns in the awake time. You can't pretend that you don't have a broken leg and have it healed. You can't think it hard enough and make it so. Not until you're walking through walls. And nobody does that on purpose. Nobody, listen to my words, no one walks through walls on purpose. Is the on purpose important, or is the no one on purpose important?
They arise at the same time.
Stop trying to explain it. You'd explain a koan.
At least I would try.
Yep. That is the sixth emotion. The one that relates to the human realm. Fear and anger relate to the hell realm. Avarice relates to the preta realm. That sort of sludgy depression thing, ignorance, self-focusedness relates to the animal realm. Jealousy and competitiveness relate to the asura realm. And bliss states relate to the God realm. And the humans, they overthink everything. And they believe every friggin' word of it, in spite of all evidence to the contrary, that many of their thoughts in the past have been accurate. But this one is true. And that is the suffering of the human realm. When we work with emotions through the chakras, in the inner body Rushen, that one actually makes them more intense. When we work with them with manis, which is often given with this method, the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, with the 6 inner petals, with the 6 colors of the realms turning, that softens your emotions. Just in case you get into trouble with one of them. You need to grab some first aid. Manis will do it. It'll just sort of chill it down if it's too big. When you work with the chakras and the letter visualizations, in the Rushen, it turns up the gain on all the emotions, which is why I try to get people to at least practice this working with emotions practice for a while before I teach them that. Otherwise, it gets away from them, and they get all freaked out because the emotion gets too big, and they decide they're having panic attacks, or they hit their wife, or they do something that they'd rather not because it gets away. So in this working with emotions, if it gets too strong, if it gets to be too much at any point, just run some manis. Do you all know how to do that? Well, then repeat after me. Om. Om. Mani. Mani. Padme. Padme. Hong. Hong. Om Mani. Om Mani. Padme Hong. Padme Hong. Om Mani Padme Hong. Om Mani Padme Hong. Free. So by reciting this mantra And there are many beautiful tunes to sing it to available on YouTube. I'm not a singer. You don't really want to get the tunes from me. You can gentle your emotions, tone them down a bit if they're troublesome. It's K-Rim. It doesn't transform them. You don't necessarily need it when working with this practice, working with emotions. But if something is too strong for you or in a circumstance where you can't do this, you can do that and take it down to the point you can work with it. Does that make sense to you? Other questions? Are you satisfied? You will actually not be satisfied until you do the practice. You can feel it now, but the feeling of it's going to wear off. The understanding's going to get forgotten. Unless you begin doing it tonight for 5 or 10 minutes and continue doing it on a regular basis. Because, you forget. Life gets busy. Ge wandi Nur duda chi chi sala go parshu. Since in this was included the pointing out and the fourth wong, as well as the first 3. I have blessing cords for you if you want them. If I've already given you one this year, you may not need another. Or you may feel you do. It's up to you. Also, if you wish to find me again, or find out where I'm teaching or something is happening, website's on the card. Also, if any of you would like to adopt a yogi and merge your practice with theirs, I have yogis available. What happens is, oh God, how to tell you this? You're not as separate from everything else as you think you are. Really, you're not? So when you merge with a yogi and do the practice together, it synergizes. This is suitable for people who are at the time in their life where they're pretty career-oriented. They're into their career, they're raising a family. They're too busy to make much retreat. And this usually happens somewhere between the ages of 30 and 55, 60. You just don't have that much time. But you have money because you're into your career. Even if you have kids to spend it all on. So about 20 euros a month, which is dinner and drinks in a nice place. Well, not that fancy a place. Will keep a yogi in retreat for the entire month. It will support their food. If you would like to adopt one, and Monk Sonam that I mentioned is one of the ones that I have available. The totally undepressed one. He'd probably synergize with someone who fights with depression. If you wish to take on one of them, there is a form you can fill out. I only have a couple of pictures with me of a couple of bodhisattvas that look after my teacher and that look after the community. So they're not monks or nuns or yogis. They're into karma yoga and taking care of everybody. One translates for everybody. And the other one does guru yoga. That's their main practice with their teacher. even though they're lay people dressed ordinary like us. I have those pictures, but if you would like someone specific, like an old yogini, or a monk, or a nagpa, or a nagma, you just write it down, and when I get back to the Bay Area, I send you a picture. I send you their name, their address. Now, I don't have an organization. I don't do those. I don't have centers. So I introduce you to the individual, and then you get to form your own relationship. If you're ever thinking of coming out to Sopema, it's also nice to have a friend there. The yogis take friendship very seriously. So right now, I'm going to give you blessing cords and hit you over the head with a vase, which is a fun part. I want to show you how to do this. When you come up, I touch the vase to your crown chakra, and then I pour a tiny bit into your palm, and you drink it. And you dry your hand on the top of your head. It's gluten-free and vegan. As far as allergens go, it contains saffron and magic.
By the way, anyone interested in knowing more about the sponsoring program or signing up for it, you can come here and I've got extra information and forms.
She has the information in the papers and how you do it and all of that. So if it's the time for you to do that, come see her. And if it's not the time for you to do that, if it's not something you want to do, that's okay.
See us next year.
The cards I was going to say, if it's not your time now, but later on you would like to, you can obviously...
You can always email. There's always somebody who's lost their sponsor or needs one or gets sick or something. So, bonkies, anybody? Got it. There was a clog in the bumper. Now there's bumper on me.
Thank you. Did she?